Ever get any money from Costello?
No.
And did you ever get any money from Meyer Lansky?
I never got money from any of those fellas.
None of those
None
fellas?
of those fellas. None of these that I've been reading about, or none that I knew. They never gave me anything.
None of the Shetties?
No.
You
I
think-
don't even speak to the... I mean, I met that Charlie once or twice. I don't even talk to him.
You don't like him?
I was conscious of the fact that he had a reputation for being an outstanding bookmaker.
You ever hear him referred to as the Prime Minister of the Underworld?
That term I did not.
Also known as Duck Corella. I refuse to answer on the grounds of an attempted criminal. Got any business? I refuse to answer on the grounds of attempted criminal. You have any profession? I refuse to answer on the grounds of made attempted. Have any occupation? I refuse to answer on the grounds of made attempted. Are you a known racketeer?
Welcome Wednesday night. Here's our interrogation show tonight. We've got Lamar and Lucian with us. Our friend Jason, many of you probably remember this from last week, is retired from law enforcement. He's not available tonight because he's out pitching and trying to get more school safety stuff in our schools tonight. So we're going to forgive him for that. But it'll be just us three, which I think is going to give everybody plenty of good insight. But Lamar, Lucian, how you guys doing? Let's go to you first, Lamar. How you doing tonight?
Not too bad. Back off some work travel, but really looking forward to it. I missed last week. I apologize for that. But yeah, man, staying busy.
Well, we won't tell him that we actually did a rerun last week of the Victoria Martin's murder. So shame on you for missing. We were all here waiting on you. Yeah, everybody had things to do last week, and including myself. So we did a rerun of that Victoria Martin's case, which is a phenomenal case. Thought it was well worth a second look. But Lucian, how you doing tonight, though? You and I had a little conversation earlier. You talked about you were chilling some whiskey. Is the whiskey at a satisfactory temperature for you at this moment?
It absolutely is now. A nice smoky Islay. It's not the most expensive whiskey, but it'll do.
Well, I'll take it. Let's get into our video tonight. This is about the investigation into the murder of a Cheryl Cain. This happened in Florida. A young woman, early 20s, just kind of comes up missing. So they're looking for her, you know, how the investigation goes. They kind of talk to people who are near her, as we all talk about this place you start, people that were closest to her. Somebody had to be close to her to kill her at some point. She's got an ex-boyfriend. The ex-boyfriend's got a roommate. And through these interrogations, interviews. They interview the roommate and they interview the ex-boyfriend. The ex-boyfriend has an alibi, wasn't in town. He was gone during the time that she came missing, and ultimately they found her body. She was murdered. But it's determined that the roommate was the last person to probably see her alive, or that they knew of anyway. And that's kind of where this interrogation is going to begin. I got a little bit of lead up in there, tell you a little bit more about the story before, kind of what the interrogators knew going into this first interrogation that we're going to watch. But this is an interrogation in relation to the murder of Cheryl Cain out of Florida.
On March 25, 2009, a homeless man in Pensacola, Florida made a horrific discovery at an abandoned Shell station. As he approached the back lot to throw trash away in the forgotten dumpster, he came face to face with the body of Cheryl Cain. Her hands were tied behind her back with an RCA cable. 2 plastic bags, wrapped around her head and duct taped to her neck, caused her to asphyxiate. But who had placed those bags there would initially prove to be a challenging mystery to solve. Cheryl was a hard-working veterinarian with a love of animals, an accomplished history as a rodeo rider, and a close relationship with her family. At the beginning of the investigation, people flooded the lot where her body was found with stuffed animals in honor of her. Desperate for answers, the community who loved her offered a reward for information leading to an arrest. At the end of March, Escambia County Sheriff's Department got exactly that. Cheryl Cain's family contacted law enforcement to tell them that Cheryl's ex-boyfriend, Larry Spears, had found her wallet stuffed beneath the mattress of his roommate, Scott Thompson. When police questioned Scott regarding the wallet on March 30th, he claimed that he had put it there for safekeeping after finding it in Larry's belongings.
nose is itching. Someone must be thinking about me. You're going to have a lot of the same questions I asked you the other day. Obviously, the new part would be, her wallet and stuff about that wallet.
The detective reads Scott his Miranda rights, then wastes no time getting down to business.
Okay, what was the last time you saw Cheryl Cain?
Friday.
And you were talking about Friday of the week before last, because I was with you Friday. So, and she was found dead on Wednesday, so the week before.
Yeah.
So, let's see, the 25th was Wednesday, 24th, 23rd, 22nd, 21st, 20th. So you're talking about Friday the 20th of March. That was the last time.
Yeah.
That was the last time you saw her physically.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and where were you at?
I was at my house.
Oh, right there on 9.5 Mile? Okay. I mean, on 9 Mile?
9 Mile.
Or your parents' house?
No, 9 Mile.
Okay. So she came by your little house there on 9 Mile.
Mm-hmm.
What was the circumstances?
She had gave me some money a couple of days before. I was supposed to be find her some smoke, and just didn't round anything up, and she came back by to get her money.
Now by smoke you mean marijuana?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And it was $30?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And so you didn't have any luck finding her any weed, so you gave her the $30 back.
Yes, sir.
Was anybody with her when she came by?
No, sir.
Okay. So she's by herself. What was she driving?
Her white car.
Okay.
Okay, interrogators. We've seen this tactic before, right? In fact, you've heard, I think we all agree it's probably a pretty solid tactic, is to just tell me what you want to tell me. But we're seeing this interrogator doing a pretty good job. He's locking down some things you can nail down and try. For the dollar amount, $30, very specific details that he's extracting from him. What are you guys thinking so far? What's your impression so far? Let's go to Lucian first.
I think it's a little weird that he's offering up, what the money was for. I have to tell you, it's odd to me that someone would give you $30, even in 2009, and you can't find weed for that. And then you give the money back. That's a weird element. But yeah, the approach the interrogator's taking right now is pretty standard. Here's some stuff that we can pin down, specific details. I'm not noticing anything really out there right now.
Yeah, no, nor would I expect you to see much more than what you've said. I will say the triangle table would have been great in this room, but that's a push we'll talk about another time. I agree with you. I think that he's laying down some good foundation. And remember, the information that the investigator knows that the suspect doesn't know that he knows, and that's exactly when he had last contact. So he's got him. I thought it was very good. He counted it. So how many days was that? Monday, Tuesday? He's counting it out. How many days away from the time you say the last time you saw her to the time that we know you saw her? So it's a big disparity, I think, that's going to come back to haunt him. Lamar?
Yeah, I agree with everything said. I kind of view this as a reestablishment of the baseline, as we would call it. So once someone's been in the booth, they have a chance to cool off. You call them back in. You go back over those basics and see if anything's changed or if you have additional information, see how they pivot.
I like how you federal guys on Intel side, you got fancy words for everything, and it's really good because you got a name for it. Sometimes we'll have to just kind of describe it. But you know what? I didn't do a proper introduction of my fellow host here tonight. Lamar is a veteran of the Intel service. He's got training in dealing with human assets and interrogations and interviews. Lucian, also a veteran of the Intel service. And Lucian has, I think, of course, you know how these Intel guys are. They can't really tell you much. You'd have to kill me. But I think Lucian does maybe more about handling human assets as far as like maybe informants is the way a lot of law enforcement would look at it. Sound like he might have some skills in wrangling. But these guys have an excellent point of view on the interrogation tactics there. And myself, I'm former law enforcement, 12 years as a law enforcement officer, and I have training in interrogation. So we're going to break it down for you tonight. We won't have Jason, but we're going to break it down for you tonight. But those are my two co-hosts tonight. I neglected to give them their credit due at the beginning of the show. So let's get back to this video.
Okay. So she comes along in a white car, and you get the money back to her. How long is she over there?
Not long, maybe 2 or 3 minutes.
Okay, 2 or 3 minutes, and you
Just
remember what
getting off
time of the
work
day?
And, it's about 5:30.
And you knew that, what, because you were already off
Just
work?
getting off work.
So you had just gotten off work, gone home. She call you beforehand, set it up, or she just show up?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. So she called first.
Yeah.
When was the last time you actually spoke to her or communicated with her not in person?
Monday.
Monday, okay. And that's the last time you talked to her?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And she never came over that night?
No, sir.
And of course, yesterday I get over to your house because I get a call from the family saying Larry Spears has called them saying that he was over at your house and had found Cheryl's wallet in your room,
Yes, sir.
under your bed. And when I went over there and talked to you, you said that's where you placed it. Is that correct?
Under the mattress.
Under the mattress, right. Well, under your bed, under the mattress, sorry. Yeah, between the box spring and the mattress.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. When I got there, Larry set the wallet on my car, and I collected it from him. And you were standing there when I did that, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You told me at that time that you had set it there for safekeeping, is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. When did you find that wallet?
Thursday, Thursday or Friday. Trying to think when did you come over? To
I
my
came over
parents
to your
that
house
first time?
by Friday. Yeah, that Friday I came by.
Friday. It was Saturday.
Okay.
The next day.
So you found the wallet on Saturday. You remember what was the circumstances? Tell me how you found it.
I was packing up the rest of Larry's stuff. I mean,
Okay.
like I said, he'd already got his bed and some of his clothes. He left a basket and stuff in the dresser. And I mean, I was packing the rest of his stuff, putting it out there on the little sunroom.
Okay.
And just packing up everything. And then I saw that. And I think the only thing else there was like a hair clip.
No, exactly where was it?
It was in the dresser.
In the dresser. Now, when you found this wallet, did you go through it?
I just unzipped it and seen that it was her ID.
Did you think that was important?
I thought it was just something that would need to hold on to.
Okay, so when I came over and I talked to you on Friday, and I said that I was, investigating the death of Cheryl, and then I was looking to talk to Larry, and could you assist me in contacting Larry and all that, you didn't think that finding the wallet in Larry's old bedroom was of importance?
I really didn't think of it at the time, like putting 2 and 2 together, like, that was her wallet. I just, because, she's had stuff there before, and, it really didn't click, like, oh, that was her wallet. I figured it, might have been like an old wallet or...
Okay. But you saw her driver's license in it and all that? Okay. She got her driver's license and all that stuff in there, and you didn't think it was important? Okay, and then for safekeeping, instead of calling me, you put it under your bed?
I just stuck it under my mattress. I didn't put it out with this stuff. I knew I was going to. Figured you'd be calling the next day or the day after.
Okay. Okay, let's see. So the last time you saw her was on that Friday, and she was getting back the $30 that she had fronted you, I guess, to pick her up a little bit of weed. Okay. And now you said that was about 5:30 in the evening. Correct. The last time you spoke to her was on Monday, and you said you had 3 phone calls, somewhere around 5:30, 6, 7 p.m. right in there.
Yeah.
And you had no more phone call contact with her after that.
Not that day.
Okay. And then You said after the 7 p.m. time, the next time you talk to her is on Tuesday, or you try to call her on Tuesday?
I called her Tuesday.
But you didn't actually get her on the phone?
No.
Okay. So she's not answering her phone.
All right. Do you guys sense a change in the tempo with the interrogator?
Oh, absolutely. He's picking up the pace and putting a bunch of stuff out there to see how he responds without giving him time to think it through.
Yep, I agree. He's perfectly put this guy first in a common sense trap where, hey, I spoke to you the day before you found this wallet and it just slipped your mind that this would be important to tell law enforcement. He didn't get any points there, but I still think the boom is coming. He's walking this guy down.
Yeah, I believe he's loading the magazine on him right now with the counting off on the fingers, almost itemizing the points of the story that he's given this far. And I bring this up because in some interrogations, and you need to do this, you'll see this process get strung out. They'll go a long ways building rapport, talking things out, getting those rocks that an investigator, even people that are listening to this, if it's that type of an investigation, they can go pull a video at a gas station if you said you were there at 2:30 p.m. to get gas, right? So they can either start confirming or denying part of your story while you sit there. But it looks like this guy's ramping it up, and I think he's fixing to unload on him here in just a few minutes. But the reason I want to stop it here is I think it's going to go fast. Let's see.
On Tuesday, and I think that's pretty consistent with everybody. Nobody's being able to talk to her on Tuesday, so something happened that Monday night, I would guess. And you said the last time you talked to her was 7 p.m. Okay. And you said how many phone calls did you make to her?
I think 3.
3? Okay. And that seems to be adding up for the most part. What about 8 and 9 o'clock that night when you talked to her?
Was it that late?
Well, I have those 3 phone calls you talked about earlier. They're all right here in a row. Boom, boom, boom. Just about the times that you said. But then you talked to her for about 8 minutes, about 8:30.
Okay, that's when she called, or I talked to her the last time, when she said that, when she was talking about, what's his name? Tommy?
Well, I don't know, because we've kind of gone over it several times here. And I've asked you about the phone calls and how many number of phone calls and what times they were, and I was pretty specific. And I went back over it again. Well, I don't know, because we've kind of gone over it several times here. But then we got 3 more phone calls later that night, after the time you said you last talked to her.
3?
So the last time, yeah. Well, the others are for 1 minute, so I don't know if they went through or not, but they're dialed.
Yeah.
You to her, her to you, in one 8-minute conversation. Okay, you don't
played
remember
phone
that?
tag a couple times.
Well, but I'm pretty specific, and you're saying after 7 o'clock. So what was that last phone call about?
That was about when she told me about Tommy, about saying something like he loved her and it weirded her out, and I told her that, he was supposed to be trying to get some later, and
You don't think that's kind of peculiar?
no.
Let me lay it to you like this, okay? The last person that I can put her talking to that night is you, okay? The last person while she's alive she talks to is you, okay? The person that's found with her wallet and his house is you, okay? You got some explaining to do about that. I need to understand how that is all coming to you. I can tell you, at first I got to look at the boyfriend's hard, okay? But their stories are matching up. They remember phone calls. It's pretty important. It's if I ask you questions about this, we realize the importance of this, the urgency. Somebody's dead, okay? Somebody's no longer here with us. Their family wants answers, and everybody wants answers, okay? We've gone over this a number of times today. And I've asked you about the phone calls a couple of times. And I asked you specifically. And you told me the last phone call was around 7 p.m., which is right on time. We got the phone calls. You said the 5:30, the 6, the 7. We got them right there. Just like you said.
Well, I don't.
But it's just the later call. It's an 8-minute conversation later in the night. It's quite a bit different. Okay? Then we have the problem with you know, the day before I'm over at your house, the day before you find this wallet, I'm over at your house. I'm saying, hey, I need to go. She's dead, and I need to talk to Larry. Right? It's important. You help me out. You call him up for me. Put me in contact with Larry. So I leave your house and I head over there. When do you start packing his stuff up?
The next day.
The next day. Would you do it during the morning, evening, what?
It's done midday.
Midday? Okay. And
wait, what day is this? Because
Friday.
I mean, it's like a week ago, and I mean, I'm trying to remember. I mean, I know you tried to confuse me, but
I'm not trying to confuse you. I want to make sure you're very sure. Okay, Scott, I don't want you confused. I want you telling me what I'm after here is the truth. Okay? Okay. Don't want you confused. I want you telling me the truth. The problem I'm seeing here, and just let me explain to you. The problem I'm seeing here is I'm being very specific with you, and I'm wanting specific answers, and you're giving me specific answers, and then 5-10 minutes later, when we go back to it, and I tell you a new bit of information that shows, hey, you couldn't be telling me the correct information, then you're changing the story. So you've done that now on the wallet. You've done this now on the phone calls. I do a lot of interviews with people. I've been doing this job for 12 years now. I've been a cop for 12 years. I've been doing investigations for a long time too. Okay? The things you're showing me are deception. Okay? You're not sure. You know why you're not sure? Because you're not, the truth slides right out. It's when you got falseness in there, you're trying to cover something up that you get confused. This is easy then, okay? I'm asking you specific questions. This is not like I'm talking to you about something that happened months ago. This is Tuesday. We're asking you stuff that happened last week. You haven't even worked a full week since last week. Okay? I want you on page with me now, okay? So when I go over this stuff, I'm glad I hadn't started this thing. We're all screwed around now. Okay. Let's go back to the phone call conversations on Monday. You with me?
Yes.
On Monday. You said you talked to, the first time you said you talked to her 3 times. Last call being around 7 p.m. But now we remember these other phone calls later, right? Or at least a conversation?
Well,
around 8:23 to be exact.
I talked to her 3 times, and I know we played phone tag like once. I mean, where, she called me, I didn't answer, or I'd call her, she didn't answer. But I mean, I talked to her, actually physically talked to her, I think 3 times.
Okay. You're right on time with the other times. This 8:30 phone call. Tell me about it. What was going on with that phone call?
That was the last phone call when she said, "Did you find anything? Were you able to find anything for me?"
Right.
I said, "No, it's going to be later on. He didn't have nothing right now." And that's when she said,
Okay, before we get into too deep while he's trying to smooth out the rough edges of his story, let's talk about, do you guys agree that the temperature's gone up in the room? He's tweaked down on, you're being very inconsistent in your story. This is not, I believe the suspect, when he gets there, thinks this is an interview, that all he has to do is explain why he safeguarded the dead woman's wallet from the boyfriend who was moving out, who should be a suspect because he's an ex-boyfriend who was moving out. Now he realizes that there's a lot more to this interview than let's just talk about the wallet. But I want to go to you, Intel guys. Have y'all seen a change in his demeanor, body language? I know you guys read body language like Braille, but let's go to Lamar the first time. What are you seeing on body language at this point?
So what's interesting to me is he's not doing a ton of body language. I'm noticing a difference in his audible reaction. So at the very beginning, if everyone remembers, it was, "Yes, sir." He was trying to be respectful. Then he got called out that his story's not adding up. The last couple answers have been like he's shunting into himself because he knows he's in trouble, because the investigator or the interrogator here has essentially said, "I know you're lying," but he just used different language, saying, I can see the indicators of deception here.
Okay. Lucian, what's your assessment?
Yeah, I see the exact same thing. I was going to point out the the lack of body language going on here. He's kind of withdrawn. He's keeping himself as controlled as he can. He's trying to limit any tells. And that mumbling is a pretty good indicator, especially because he was very clear early on. I think he's figured out now that the more he says, the more rope he's giving himself to hang.
And this, folks, this is what I'm talking about, the difference between, I've learned, the intel side and the law enforcement side. They can explain in fancy words what's their analysis of it. For me, I've always been taught, and I can see this in my mind, it's an emotional cascade that's going on behind the eyes. He's trying to hide what's going on in his brain. But I would think during some points of this, when he's stuck for a word, can't quite seem to explain it away, and he even looks away, that this guy's seeing spots in his eyes and ringing in his ears. He just doesn't know what to do. It's almost a deer in the headlights type of reaction with some of these questions. He just doesn't know where to go from there. But I think he's seizing up internally, emotionally.
Yeah, and whether it's an emotional element or not, cognitively, what's going on for him is the anxiety is causing him to slow down his internal dialogue, however he perceives that. And he's trying to figure out what the right answer is, not what he actually remembers. At some point, he'll get confused, and you'll probably hear him say something, "No, that's not what I meant." And he'll go back. But those are disruptions in how he's processing the information that he actually knows.
I agree 1000%. And one of the things as I listen to this, I'm waiting for the interrogator to do is, one of the tricks that we were always taught was, a fast talker, you slow them down. A slow talker, you speed them up. So I'm kind of waiting for the interrogator to be quiet a little bit more and force the issue.
Break his comfort and cadence, right? All right, one more issue before we go back. We see in these videos to where there'll be a table, and I know it's like this on the intel side. This is important on the law enforcement side, especially in interrogation. You should set the stage. I do like a table against a wall, perpendicular to the wall that way. But we've seen some investigators, they'll get into roll chairs and they won't put even any of their items on the table. This interrogator is different. He's come in, he's dominating that table. It's like they're sitting in his desk in his office. Have y'all noticed that?
I have.
Yeah.
In fact, one of the things I paid attention to initially was, I know here goes more jargon. We called it the sprawl. So he has his notebook open. He's widened his ownership of that table. He has the big file next to him. He's given the subject very little room to, one, breathe and to like lean forward, and like he's feeling the presence of that wall on his back now.
Yeah, and it's funny, this isn't something that's limited just to interrogations or interviews. You see people doing this in the boardrooms also. It's interesting, if you ever have an opportunity to sit across from people who have a lot of experience with negotiating in general, they tend to start off fairly small, and as the conversation goes on, while they're talking, they'll push things away from them, so they're claiming more territory.
100%. I own the room. I own the table. This is my world. You're small if you're going to try to come at me, I think is what it portrays. The boss, as you guys said, I think that's a good way to say it as well. But I think it's intentional for this particular interrogation. In fact, I would say if you're an interrogator and there's something going on in that room that you didn't plan for, then you failed somewhere. You should be able to control everything inside that room, how it's set up. Y'all have heard me about the little triangle table. I may talk about it a little bit more this space, but a triangle table I think is genius when it comes to hard interrogations. But let's see where this. Let's see how this guy smooths over his story. Show it was all just a happenstance. Don't worry about it.
I'm gonna go drink a beer and go hang out, and if you find anything, call me back. And that's when we talked about, I guess the new guy she's kind of seeing, Tommy, and she said that he had said that like he loved her or something like that, and she just said, it kind of freaked me out when he said that, and it's kind of weird how he was saying he loved me, and that she was gonna go have a beer, and she goes out all the time. I don't ever go out and hang out or party.
Okay.
Nothing, but she's a talker. She talks, and
Okay.
talks and talks.
Okay. So after you have this 8-minute conversation with her at 8:22 in the evening, okay, it ended at 8:22. It actually was started about 8:14, according to the phone records.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Then at 9 o'clock, 9:04, 9:05, one call to and one call from you. Do you remember that?
Did I call her and
Yeah.
then she called me back?
Your phone. I'm not saying you called her, but your phone called her.
Mm-hmm.
Why would you call her? You just, I don't want to confuse you, but you just said you didn't talk to her again.
Talked to her a bunch that night. I mean,
Okay.
I mean, I'm not saying.
But you're telling me this 8-minute conversation, right? Okay. Pretty much you told her it was done there, but then y'all are both calling each other, what, less than an hour later? Okay.
I think, I mean, when I talked to her that last time, she was like, you sure you can't get nothing?
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I waited and called her and said, no. I mean, I really don't even remember if I got a hold of her that time. I think I called her. She didn't answer. And then she called me back.
Scott, am I not being specific? Am I not trying?
One more point. Do you guys see this significance of why he keeps talking about this as an 8-minute conversation? What makes this significance? What is the significance of the fact that it was an 8-minute conversation?
He's probably setting some time boundaries.
Yeah. If I had to bet, he has additional information about the timeline that doesn't make sense.
Maybe. I think it has a lot more. 8 minutes is a long time. I think as an interrogator, if you were to take out and do a stopwatch and just let it go for 8 minutes and see how many things that you talked about, and I think 8 minutes is a long conversation. That's not a. I'll let you know when I get you weed. You know what I mean? I don't think that adds up. It's 8-minute conversation is a kind of a long phone. 8 minutes in sleep is not very much, but 8 minutes in a conversation, there's a lot said. That's a long conversation. B agrees with me. But do you guys not pick up on that, or do you see this? Maybe you don't see this. Maybe I'm guessing.
Well, I am.
No, I agree with you. It makes me think that the interrogator has another ace up his sleeve that he's not willing to reveal until this guy backs himself into a corner more.
No, that may be 100%. I have seen this a little bit, but I go through it on editing, so I don't actually catch it all. So let's get back to it and see. I just think it's interesting. He's gone back to this 8-minute conversation. And remember, there were several phone calls that day that don't seem to be a point of contention. But this 8-minute phone conversation, I think he said at 8:30, some hours after he said their last phone call was. One, he didn't mention it. Two, it's 8 minutes. It seems to be significant.
And before we move on, Joe, I'd kind of like to point out that, at least from my perspective, and this is one of the differences between law enforcement trying to drive towards specific information coming out and what, say, Lamar and I might be talking to somebody about, we're looking for very different clues. So the repetition of that would be to set some kind of groundwork for something to be released later on. What else are you going to tell them? From my perspective, I wouldn't necessarily care so much about those details. I'm looking for the reactions. And so for me, I focus less on the specificity and more on the consistency and the behaviors.
What do you think about his reaction to the question of what did you talk about in this 8-minute conversation? He seems to lack some detail of that or enough meat to make me believe that it took 8 minutes to talk about that.
Well, remember, he didn't even mention that conversation first. He mentioned the times that the phone made connections, whether they talked or not, because those were very short. But there's some reason that he left out the longer conversation. But I'm kind of in the dark as to how that fits in at this point, I have to admit.
I've got a hypothesis, and that is that this is at some point where he lured her to wherever they actually get together, because they have to be together if he's going to kill her, if that's the theory of the case. And I think that, once again, 8 minutes could be you talking someone into something. 8 minutes could be getting directions. 8 minutes is, I just think, a long time for a phone conversation, especially one that you don't remember, but yet you remember the shorter ones just 2 hours earlier.
Well, do we know if that conversation happened while the phone was moving? You know, if I'm talking to, if I want you to stay in a certain spot,
I can't read that investigator's notes from here.
Yeah.
We're going to find out.
Camera.
I didn't want to hang up on it too long. I think that this 8 minutes is key, and this investigator is driving it home. The circle is getting smaller, like going around the drain. I'm curious to see if that 8 minutes is critical when it hits the drain.
All right,
let's go back to it.
I'm not trying to trick you here.
People don't never, get a little confused, or
Scott, you've been confused the whole time you've been here. You've been confused the whole time you've been in here. I'm not trying to come down on you. It's just me and you in here talking.
I know.
Okay. But listen to me. I'm asking you questions about a murder. Somebody's dead. Okay. It's as serious as it gets. The pucker factor in here's got to be max 10. You couldn't be in more of a scary situation than talking about a murder with a homicide investigator. I understand that. Okay. But I'm putting your point on, and I'm asking you specific things, and I'm making sure. Each time I get done asking you this question, are you sure? Are we right there? Okay? You told me this 8-minute conversation ended. You wouldn't have any more reason to call her, but I have both of you calling each other less than an hour later.
I talked to her before that. I must have talked to her maybe for 3, 4, 5 minutes. I don't know in my head, like, okay, this time I talked to her was the 8-minute, this was the 5-minute, this. I'm not trying to BS around, or I want to say that's the truth, and I know for 100%, but I'm not sure.
That's why I'm asking you. What would be the reason to call her after that? You said the conversation was over. You pretty much had told her at that time that wasn't going to be able to hook you up. That was it. And she gave you a little conversation about Cody, and she said, "Hey, call me if you do run across something." And you said, "Would you have any more? Do you have any more reason to call her?" You said, "No." Did you call anymore? No. Are you sure? I'm sure. And then I pull up the phone records and tell you, y'all both have a phone call conversation. Oh, yeah.
Well,
come on, man.
I don't know what to say, man.
I don't either, because you're changing your story every time.
I'm not trying to change my story.
Okay. But do you see my point?
I see where you're coming from.
Okay. I don't know. I wasn't there. Okay. I don't know. I wasn't there.
I wish y'all could have the technology to listen in. I know they got the act where you can't listen or tap in, but I don't know. I would like to know what and when, but I don't remember exactly when, what call was what, which one was 8 minutes. And
all right, let's get back to this thing.
Are we going to do any recording today, or
yeah, man,
or what?
Yeah.
Okay.
You all right?
Yeah, I'm fine, man. I just
seem a little agitated.
Just been in here for 2 hours, and it seems like you go from talking about coming down to do a statement to interrogation, and just didn't think it was going to turn like this. No, I don't.
Well, you're the one that's changed. You're the one that's changed the story a few times here. That's why I'm trying to get the story completely tight, and then we do the recording. Okay. And you said that time you were talking to Cheryl on that Monday when you were on the phone with her and I had phone records of you talking to her, you were arranging some kind of deal for her to pick up a nickel bag or something with through Adam. You were going to get it from Adam to get to her, correct?
Yeah.
Did y'all argue at all?
No.
Okay. And no kind of arguments, anything like that?
No.
Okay. At that point, you said before that you had owed her a little bit of money, what, $30? Is that what? Let me look in here. $30, but that was on the previous Friday.
Yeah, that was
and
before.
And you got it to her.
And that, yeah.
Okay, so at that point, you didn't owe her any money, and she didn't owe you any money.
No.
Everybody's clean bill of health.
Yeah.
Okay. And did you that Friday? How did that go down? How did y'all meet each other?
The Friday, the last Friday.
The last time you saw her.
Last time I saw her.
Yeah. How did that go down again?
She just called and was like, was it able to go through or anything?
Right.
No.
Any kind of problems with that?
No.
She was not mad?
No.
You were not mad?
No.
Okay. So she comes over and she's alone, you said?
Mm-hmm.
And she is, collects her $30? No problems.
No problems.
Okay. You see what I'm running into here, though, right?
Yeah.
Every time I talk to somebody, I find out the story that you're giving me is off from the dates you gave me, the times you gave me,
Well, I mean,
the dates you gave me.
I was off work. I know.
All right, professionals. What do you think about the tactic pulling the recorder out and saying, hey, let's get your story right so I can get your official statement?
It's a
That's
shock
pretty
move.
nice.
Yep, it's a shock move. So it's intended, as I've said this before in other sessions or episodes, where your physiology will betray you, regardless of whether you want it to or not. He starts shifting, and I call this the praying hands pose, where he starts to lean over a little bit, clasp his hands together in front of him, almost like he's in church. He got real nervous, super nervous.
Okay, Lucian, do you have an assessment that you want to share?
I think it's another tactic, whether the recording is there or not. It's not something that I'm that familiar with, but it definitely turns up the heat. And I see all the physical signs. This guy's very uncomfortable, and at this point, he's probably trying to remember, okay, what did I say so I can be consistent?
Well, let me ask you this, guys. You know the recorder's not on. He just pulled it out of his pocket and set it on the table.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It's just, it's like the lie detector that's a photocopier. We all know that story. It's meant entirely to drive a perception in this guy, and it's working. It's clearly working.
Yeah, he's getting psyoped hard. It's, as Lucian was saying, it's akin to dropping a folder full of paper, but the subject doesn't know that it's just printer paper that doesn't have a mark on it. It's a way to play those psychological games in the booth, to where.
Well, let me add another aspect to it. If I set the recorder there and say, we're getting ready to get your statement, but it's just us talking here, don't you think that that gives the suspect some room to even be more flaky, throw out some more rope on the deck so he can tangle in it?
Yeah, absolutely. He's at that point, he thinks he's able to rehearse that some of his stuff. He can argue, well, no, I didn't actually.
All this
say
bullshit
that.
I've said. What he's thinking is all this bullshit I said hasn't necessarily killed me yet because he hadn't recorded anything.
Right.
I guess he's completely unaware of the camera in the interrogation room that he's in.
Yeah, I would say yes if the interrogator hadn't basically walked him down and said, look, you're being deceptive every time you say something that doesn't line up with what we know, or you're essentially lying through omission. You tell me details, but then you leave a big part out. I think if he had not done that, it would have given him more time to rehearse. But now he's literally backed up against the wall.
I'll tell you, I've never seen that pull a recorder out of your pocket in an interrogation room and talk about we're gonna like go on the record, indicating that maybe we're off the record with all the shit that you've been saying. I think it's a great technique, our tactic. I've never seen it, but I would employ it. I can see where I could use that.
I'm going to share just a small. So on one event, I was interacting with someone, and they were. I could tell that they were trying to elicit information back from me, and so I pulled out the phone and I tapped the screen while it was on. I said, "Oh my God, this was already broadcasting," to make it seem like they had been disclosing information and that somebody else was listening in, and that was done specifically to end the conversation. So all of these things have a psychological component that is meant to make a sudden shift, give you a sharp right turn in your behavior.
No, I agree. I think the devices are not a bad idea. If you think about if someone walks around with an earbud in their ear all the time and they're on the phone and off the phone, you'll notice that people approach them like in an office setting or something, and they'll kind of whisper, "Are you on the phone?" No, I'm not. They'll keep their earbud in. I think these are things that make us think in a different way. B has a question. Was Cheryl put it up here? Was Cheryl his dope dealer girlfriend of both? He was the girlfriend of his roommate, and I believe that the gentleman sitting in the chair, the smaller frame of those, was Cheryl's plug for marijuana. He was the dealer to her. She had requested that he either be the go-between or he sell her $30 worth of marijuana, is what the story's been so far. And I wanted to point out the recorder. Like I said, I've never seen that technique. I've heard of anybody using it, but if there's anybody out there listening, like former law enforcement or law enforcement, shoot me a DM if you know more about this technique. I kind of like it. I think that's kind of brilliant, actually. But let's get back to it.
I was off work when we
Let
did it.
me explain this to you, Scott. This is serious business. We're talking about somebody's death. We're talking about a murder here. Okay? And this is probably the third time I've given you this speech. We got to be precise. Okay? And when I ask you, I'm asking you every single time, are you sure? And I'm getting that assurance from you, but then I'm coming back and we're not sure. So this is probably like the fourth or fifth change that we've gone back to. You realize, I mean, work with me here. I want to try and get the truth. I want to get to the heart of the matter, and I'm hoping you're wanting to cooperate with me.
I am.
So all these are mistakes. Is that what you're telling me?
Like I said, I was off work for that week. You know, I was off. I mean, it's not like I'm remembering exact days. I know when we did it. You know, and what we did,
well, I gave you a pretty good frame of reference as far as when you got rid of the dresser. It was only 4 days ago. This isn't like it's, months ago. And there was a pretty traumatic thing that happened. I mean, you found out that, this would have been the same day you found out that she was dead, that I came over and knocked on your door.
I was still off work when we moved the dresser. I know for a fact I was still off work.
Well, the day I came over to see you, you told me you worked that day. Did you work that Thursday?
That was the first day I went back to work, was Thursday.
Because Wednesday the very next day when you're moving all this stuff, you said that's the day that you did it after work. Now, at first you told me it was during the day, and then you changed it to no, it was after work. I asked you, are you very sure? And I gave you an excellent frame of reference because I came and saw you about a murder. That, to me, would be a beacon in the sky. This, something you should remember for a while. Homicide investigator comes to my house, knocking on my door, wanting to talk to me about my murdered friend. I would think, it would be reasonable to me, and I think most people would say, hey, this is something I'm going to damn remember. Okay? And it was only 4 days ago. Okay? So, I gave you a good frame. I gave you a time, and I said, hey, are you sure? And we've gone over this a couple of times now, and you were pretty sure.
I understand, but
like I said, you're killing me here on changing your story, dude.
We've been doing some drugs. It's not like I'm remembering every single solitary detail, and if I'm say something that might have been a day off or a week off or.
Do you feel like I'm trying to trap you and stuff?
No, not really.
I'm trying to be as upfront and open with you as I can. And,
you're asking me if I tell you I don't exactly remember.
Well,
that's
why I'm saying. But that's why I'm saying, are you sure? And we're getting these reminders, and that's what you're telling me. I am sure.
And I really don't remember the exact days, but if I tell you that, you're still going to be like, well. That's the beacon. It's a good reference. It's only been a week or two, week and a half.
4
You
days.
ought to remember.
Right. Sure. I think a normal person can remember, especially with giving a frame of reference. And you said, hey, look, I was off, but this is back to work time. This is when And there's a big difference between Monday when you're off and doing all this moving and Friday when you work.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Lamar.
Yeah, I was just going to say, so this is really, really nuanced. Something that immediately jumped out to me when the subject was just speaking, he basically told the gator he's aware of the tactic being used against him. As soon as someone would say something like that to me, it would be like, that would be a massive red flag.
A red flag for what? Deception?
Yes, both deception and he's being intentionally evasive of the questions. So he knows that the questions are very specific to establish a timeline, and then he knows that if he answers correctly, then he's going to come up with additional information. He essentially, in not so many words, he told the gator he knows he's lying.
You know what? I see your point. I need to process that for a minute because I didn't see that angle. Lucian, did you want to comment on what the professor just said?
No, that was pretty good insight. I missed that. I was looking at the pacing and then the agitated response where all of a sudden he got clear and started explaining, trying to. I read it as him covering for his deficiencies. You know, hey, I can't be expected to remember all of this stuff, and what you call a reasonable person, I don't think that's fair. That's what I got out of it. So I think that was pretty good insight, Lamar.
You know, it really was. I didn't say I was kind of leaning down the road. Lucian was that he's just trying to smooth over where all the wrinkles are at on the story that he's laid out there, and if that doesn't work, then I was off and on drugs. I don't remember. I think the investigators are doing a good tactic by keeping him narrowed down to 4 days. All right, gold star for Lamar. I still got to process what you said, but I see it. I see what you're talking about.
Thanks, fellas.
All day, and then you started afterwards, and that's where the confusion's hitting. Okay, so you're not getting confused about multiple days off. Hey, maybe if I had 4 days off in a row, and something happened on the first or second day off, and the third day off, maybe I could be confused. But you're going back to work. This is after a traumatic knowledge of finding out your friends murdered, and a homicide investigator coming over to your house and taking, I went over to your parents' house and talked to you originally, right? Mm-hmm. And you agreed to come with me over to your house, right? Yeah. I mean, we had a long conversation. To me, that would be something sticking in my mind, a great frame of reference. The next day, you're telling me you go to work all day, and then when you get done, you move this furniture and stuff. Tosh is correct when she says, hey, I got this dresser from him on that Monday and mirror, and it was loaded up, and you sold this
DVD player,
black
TV.
guy, the DVD player, and now a TV, and some kind of stereo booster on that day. That's all that Monday. And you have a conversation with Cheryl, and she overhears it. You remember that?
Yeah.
Okay. Her recollection of that conversation was an argument. You cussing that stupid. She thinks I owe her money. I don't owe her money. That's the gist of the conversation I'm getting from her.
I'm telling you, man. Tasha's must be talking to Larry, or Larry went over there and talked to her, and that sounds like a setup, because that never happened. I mean, I did not owe her money, and I don't know. I'm telling you, Larry's, the only thing I can think of is Larry's talked to her and said something about the wallet, implementing me and just trying to get him to go against me, because I don't know.
But everything else is lining up. I mean, the conversation's there.
Yeah.
They're talking about the black guy, which corroborates your story, the black guy. It's just the dates have been wrong. And you were telling me you're confused on the dates. So they have the correct dates.
I think are you sure you're not just trying to razzle me when she said that I called her a stupid this and that? And
no, this is my pad. It's all right on there. Cussing at her, he owed her money. You see that sentence right there? Have you seen me write any of this since we've been in here?
No.
Okay, that's what I wrote prior to coming in here. Interview,
ridiculous.
3:31 at 12:30 hours. Right now it is 1:34 hours. So I started that interview at 12:34 hours, ended it at 12:51. Oh, actually I started the recorded session at 12:51. So, I mean, I just came from here, and that's my writing. You didn't see me write it anywhere else. Not making this stuff up, dude. I wasn't there.
I mean,
I'm just only going by what I'm told. Okay. Okay. So, what about this DVD player missing its power cords or connection cords? That's not true. So when I do get this guy in here, Big or LB, he's not going to have an issue with that, right? We're absolutely sure of that.
Yes.
Okay, great. The only thing that bothers me is every time I've said, are you absolutely sure of that? I come back 10 minutes later and
Adam
you're not
got the
absolutely
TV
sure of that.
and everything else. All I had was a DVD player left.
Okay.
And the DVD player, that other TV that was in the living room I was using at the time. And, I mean, I don't have any other cords or nothing. I mean, I don't know.
Okay.
Can't believe she said that I argued, and I just,
When
that blows my mind, because I mean that.
Okay, well, you hold that to yourself for a second. Scott, you need to realize that you have to be honest with me on this. Mm-hmm. These discrepancies in your story don't shine good on you. Okay? I've had so many versions now of the story you're giving me. Okay? Mm-hmm. This is my first rodeo, man. Okay? You're not being honest with me for a reason. Okay? So, can we get to the honesty part here?
I mean, I want to call Tasha right now. I mean, I want
Well, she just left here. I don't even think you would get her. She would have to get all the way home. But that's neither here nor there. Okay.
I mean,
you know who I want to call? I want to call you. I want to call you and find out what the hell's going on, man. Because, you know, I really felt like when I talked to you Thursday and, you know, I said, hey, man, you know, Cheryl's dead. I really need to get a hold of Larry. I'm concerned. This is a homicide. How can I get a hold of her? Picked up that phone. He called me. I talked to him today. You know, you said all that. I said, well, call him for me. You cooperated. You gave me that. You let me look around. I was looking for power cords and stuff like that. Now, if I'd have known that 4 days before that you'd have taken everything electronic out of your house, I would have been nice to know. If I'd known that the dresser that you somehow thought I would have seen it was already gone that previous Monday.
The TV's been gone longer than 4 days.
Okay.
The TV and surround sound. I mean, that's been gone like...
Well, it's 4 days. Yeah, it should be a week and 1 day is what it should be. Because now, it would have been 4 days if the times were correct the first time you gave it to me. But they aren't. Because now you're saying that Tasha's times are correct. So a week from yesterday would have been when you got rid of the TVs and stuff, right? Or at least the small TV, the DVD player, the dresser, the mirror, and all the stuff with the exception of the baker's board, right? Now, am I saying that right? Baker's board? Is that what it is?
Baker's rack.
Baker's rack. Okay. Baker's rack. Kind of enlighten me. What is that?
Just it's like a tall, something you put in the kitchen, and it's got like a metal frame on the back. It's
okay,
I
like
get that. A little mini countertop.
Was it from the ground up kind of baker's rack, or is it something you sell on the counter?
Ground up.
Okay. All right. So, had you been correct and all that, but now, you know, learning it different now, knowing that night, you know, you'd already gotten rid of that stuff. Certainly, you should have already found that wallet at that point, right?
No.
No. So it's the next day you find the wallet. We're not confused on the time for the wallet find, right?
No. I mean,
You're
the
positive.
day after
4 days.
y'all come.
Right.
The
You
day
find the
after
wallet.
y'all come, which was Thursday.
Right.
First day I went back to work. The day after that,
Right.
I moved all the stuff out, and that's when I found it.
Okay.
And that was a Friday.
And that was Friday.
Yeah.
Did you work that day?
Yes.
Okay. And so what time was it when you got around and found this? In the evening?
After work.
Okay. After work? You're right. Correct?
Yes.
Okay. And we're sure of that.
I'm sure. 100%.
Okay. You find that wallet and, you know at this point that Cheryl's dead. You know that I was in a hurry to try and get a hold of Larry. Because I think I told you that night, hey, I'm going to want to get a statement from you. But right now, it's more important for me to talk to Larry. So I need to get a hold of him. But I'll be back in contact with you.
Yes.
Right? I didn't talk to you that whole day at Friday while you're at work, right? Were you kind of looking around to see if I was going to come see you that day?
I figured you'd call or something.
Okay.
I mean,
So you find this wallet, and rather than call the sheriff's office or call me, you put it under your bed, okay? And you put her wallet from a murder victim under your bed, and you don't call anybody, and you say nothing about it until I find out about it yesterday, Monday. After Larry, who is moving out the rest of his stuff, finds it in your bedroom, which he probably shouldn't have been in your bedroom, but that's...
shouldn't have been in the house.
Well, if he has property in the house, which he did, yeah, certainly still has a right to go in there and get it. He was your roommate, right? Okay. And when did he move out, or did he? Actually, his stuff was still there, so I guess he never officially moved out, right?
Yeah. I mean,
Okay, so his stuff was still there.
Well, Sunday's when he got the rest of his stuff out.
Okay.
I guess he come back to get his boat on Monday.
Okay.
And some stuff that he had in the garage.
Okay.
And Sunday, I was just getting up to go play golf, and that board that was there was moved, and he was opening the door up. I guess, I don't know if he didn't have the key on him or what, but I mean, he came over Sunday and was when he was getting the rest of the stuff.
Okay. And so he moved
It was all
stuff.
out on the dresser. I mean, all out in the sunroom.
All right. Did you think about that wallet then?
No.
What's on your mind? I mean, to me, if I'm sitting there and I know I got this murdered girl's wallet with her driver's license, and obviously you knew that because you said you opened it up and knew it was her driver's license.
I saw it was Cheryl's wallet.
Man, and the homicide guys are coming over and wanting to talk to my friend, my former roommate Larry. I would think, hell, I'd be beeline off. Hey, you need to come talk to him. I got their wallet over here. It was found in his room, in his dresser, or his room at least. I mean, I think I would be concerned with that, wouldn't you? Does it make sense? Is it logical to you?
Yes.
It's logical to me.
Yes.
And that's why I kind of go, does it make sense? Okay? And you never call me.
No.
I mean, that doesn't make sense to me.
It doesn't make sense to anyone with logical thinking skills. However, the next big mistake Scott made that the detective is about to highlight was a much more reasonable one to make.
Now, when we get to the black guy, he's going to tell me he had everything he needed for that DVD player except for the remotes.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what else there would have been. It was just a DVD player, the TV, and the thing.
What connects the DVD player to the TV?
I didn't hear him say anything about where's the power cords or nothing. He just took it and left. I mean, he didn't. I don't remember him saying, hey, where's the cords and all that. He said, where's the remote?
If you remember prior to this, me coming back in here, when I was asking you about that, and you were going over, I think we started with game systems. Remember I asked you about game systems? Had you ever had one? You said never had one.
Never had a game.
I asked you about computer. Never had a computer. Then we went over the big screen TV and all that stuff. And then we went over Adam buying the TV and the price of it, the surround sound. And I was very specific. Hey, did he have all the wires and stuff with that? And then we went over the
Adam
DVD.
got everything that was plugged up, hooked up in there. He got everything with that.
I understand.
I mean,
and you told me the same thing with the black guy getting the DVD player. Because I asked you, and I was specific about that, because that's one of the questions I have, is if all the wires are with it. And I made sure I asked you that question, and you were absolutely sure of it. And then,
and just to catch folks up that didn't catch the very beginning of the video, the victim was found in a dumpster with three plastic bags, multiple plastic bags tied over her head with the mouth around the neck, but they were tied with accessory cords like you would hook a DVD player up with. And that's why he's running down the line of questioning that he is now, that it seems like the buyers claim that they bought these items and didn't get the cords with them. So that's kind of matching up. It's going to come into play later, I think, as well. But it also appears that we didn't really understand coming in. It appears that the roommate, which is the victim's boyfriend, and the roommate who we see sitting here, the suspect, that it looks like they were moving away from each other, moving out of this house about the same time that the murder's there. So all this stuff's kind of lining up. You guys want to say anything before we get back into the video?
No, man, go ahead. You're good. Nothing for me.
No, I'm waiting to see where this goes.
Let's see.
when I came back in here and I asked you about it again, I'm asking you about these cords and stuff, and you telling me the only thing he was missing is the 2 remotes, which he got that following Sunday.
The remote, the DVD.
That's the only thing he's missing.
The remote.
Right, the remote for the TV, right? Because there's not one for the DVD player, right?
No, there's no remote for the DVD player.
Okay, so there's just one for the TV.
TV.
And that's the one he got on Sunday.
That's the one he got on Sunday.
Okay, so Tasha, who's telling me, she recalls the black guy saying, hey, how do I even know that this works? There's no cords for it. You don't have all the cords here. That's bullshit. That's what you're telling me.
I don't remember that. I mean, I think that's bullshit.
But when I asked you about it, you said all the wires are there, correct? So are you sure that all the wires are there for that DVD player?
I don't remember. I had the cord, the plug that plugs it in wrapped around it.
Mm-hmm.
And I really don't remember if there was any cords with it or not.
Okay. But you were sure of that before I took the break.
I'm telling you, man, I think Larry's talked to her and said something about cords or something, because she's too involved and saying too much stuff.
Well, I'm asking
that she
her
wouldn't know
specifically about that.
Okay.
And then she recalls, this was said.
don't know what else to say, man.
Well, I mean, you're sure one minute, you're not the next. A DVD player, for it to work, has to have some type of connections between it and the television.
I don't think there was any RCA jacks or anything.
Okay. You remember that word RCA jacks?
Yeah.
Okay. RCA jacks. No remote, but there was RCA jacks. Look right here. I wrote that. No remote, and then there's RCA jacks right here. You know why I wrote that? And that's what I wrote the first time when I left, before I went and talked to her. So this last little break, because you mentioned specifically the same word, RCA jacks, and so I wrote it down that way, because you said they were there. You know?
And you said, what are you talking about? And I said the two things.
Yeah, oh, I know, and you explained how it was. So you were very sure of them being there prior to my break. Now after talking to her, and after her telling me about this, now you're not sure. And now you're saying even further that you don't remember there being RCA jacks. When before this interview, you specifically said RCA jacks when I asked you if the cords were all there.
You haven't talked to him yet and asked him?
No, I haven't talked to him yet. I haven't talked to him. I just talked to her.
I don't know, man. I think you're tricking me now or trying to confuse me or something.
I'm trying not to trick you. I'm trying not to confuse you. Trust me, I don't want to confuse you. Hell, you've messed up every date I've had so far, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that initial interview ends. As you see there, 2 months later, old Scott is incarcerated on a probation violation. It's on an unrelated charge, but he's in custody when they come back. I think interrogators are going to have more forensic evidence they're going to be able to confront him with. But does anybody want to say anything before we get into Act 2 of this story?
Yeah, I would say, in my experience, if I've dealt with someone, they were all in the intelligence community, so they weren't typically stupid. But when I would see people behave like this, I would put it in the bucket of feigned ignorance. Ignorance not as an insult, but to not know by the textbook definition of it. Where if someone can recall specific details, and then all of a sudden there's these unexplained gaps in either the timeline or the details of the events, it was always a red flag, because that it's the inconsistency. So you're on one end, your physiology, which is your body language, all that kind of stuff, will betray you. But then there's this inconsistent cognitive process that this guy's going through, where he goes from certain to almost having no clue in the same breath. And that's a huge flag.
And almost indignant, like you can't expect me to remember these little details.
Yeah.
Even though I did remember them.
Yep.
And now I don't. And I think you guys probably deal with a more sophisticated subject. As law enforcement, you'll get folks in that don't have a lot of sophistication. But I think you have to be careful in that. Sometimes you can confuse their lack of sophistication as it points to some sort of guilt. I'm a big proponent of, I'll listen to what you've got to say, but I'm only going to be able to rely upon what I can go prove of what you said. That's why I like gas station receipts. Where, when, and what was that time of that phone call? I like these things I can go back and match up. But Lucian, your take on the first act?
I think I was looking at the techniques a little bit here, and I thought it was pretty interesting that most of the questions were directed at corroboration. Did this happen? Well, you said this previously that it did or didn't. And an awful lot of it comes down to yes, no answers that even those the guy can't keep straight. So I thought that was pretty interesting.
I think this investigator is doing a very good job at keeping that emotional cascade going, that ringing in the ears and seeing spots in front of your eyes so that you can't really concentrate on keeping a story straight. It's almost like when he gets caught in some of the lies, he just gives up on it. It's like, oh, well, I mean, you can't expect me. I don't know. It's kind of like talking to a 12-year-old that got caught doing something he shouldn't be doing. I don't know why I did it. But interesting take. Let's see what happens now. He's in custody at this point. He's not free to leave, as he was the first interview. But he's in custody on a unrelated charge for his previous probation violation for a charge that's not related to this crime.
All right, Scott. Back again. You're under arrest for the murder of Cheryl Cain. I have a warrant right here for your arrest. Over count of homicide. Signed by the judge. This is your rights. Today's date is 6/9/09. The time right now is 16:24 hours. We're here at Escambia County Sheriff's Office. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can be used as evidence against you in court. You have the right to have a lawyer present while being questioned. If you cannot afford to hire a lawyer, your lawyer will be appointed for you without cost before questioning. If you wish to answer questions now without a lawyer present, you will still have the right to stop answering questions at any time. Are you currently represented by an attorney in any pending criminal cases? No. And that would be an A. And right here are the rights I just read to you. If I could get you to initial them, that I read those to you.
I'm not signing that.
Okay. You're not going to sign it that I read you those rights? Okay. Here's what's going on. I got the DNA back. Your DNA is on the steering wheel of her car. Your DNA is on the cord around her hands. And your DNA is touch DNA all over her person.
Yeah.
Okay? Her wallet's there in your house.
Okay. You don't have my DNA.
I have your DNA.
You don't have nothing.
Okay. I have your DNA.
If this is one of those scare tactics, like the 8-hour interview.
See that report right there? FDLE report right there. This is about Cheryl Renee Cain. Scott Thompson's included in DNA profile 37. It goes on and on and on like that. See your name? Exhibit Scott Thompson?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. No, this ain't no bullshit. And, this is your opportunity here to tell me what led to this incident. It doesn't mean, I don't know exactly what happened because obviously only you and her were there. But this isn't a question of whether or not you did it or not. This is a question of why you did it or not. If you don't want to talk, that's fine. You will obviously get your day in court to explain what happened. But if there's some mitigating circumstances, she attacked you, anything happened along those lines, I need to know about it now.
No.
Okay. So, we going to talk about this or no?
No, I don't. I mean, you don't have my DNA.
Okay.
I've never been in her car.
Okay. You've never been in her car?
Never been in her car.
Okay. And
I've ridden
there's
her car
electrical
once, a long time ago.
Okay. Were you driving?
No.
Okay. Your DNA is included on her steering wheel.
There's no way.
Sorry. Your DNA is included on those power cords around her wrist. Now, I know we had this little thing about the DVD player that you gave to that guy, and I've gotten that DVD player, and he says you provide him with cords to it. So I don't know if these are different cords or what, but these 3-prong cords that would go into like a DVD player or something, your DNA's coming back on that and all over the person. The only thing I figured, because there wasn't no fingerprints, is that you were sweating when you did this, and maybe your sweat dropped in there, or maybe you took your gloves off and thought you were cool just touching the clothing part and that you wouldn't get fingerprints on that. I don't know. But you're saying you never drove a car, you're coming back on a car, on the steering wheel. So if you've never been in a car, that's fine. But your DNA's been in her car, and that's the problem. Your wallet ends up in your house, under your bed. Now, I know you said that Larry Spears must have put that there. You found it in Larry Spears' thing. Larry Spears' phone records come back that he's in Alabama. His DNA ain't showing up anywhere on this. That's the problem. I don't have Larry Spears' DNA on her steering wheel. I don't have Larry Spears' DNA on the cords. I have yours. Okay?
No.
So if Larry's excluded, you're telling me you found the stuff in his room and you thought that, hey, I'll just take this and put it underneath.
All right, body language professionals. He comes in guns blazing. Pretty much, hey, you're under arrest. You can sign this or you not. This is not bullshit. I'll throw it out there. I got you dead to rights. Got your DNA all over this. What are you guys seeing in body language with this barrage coming at this person with a handcuff on the table?
He's just shut down. He probably doesn't even know what he can possibly say here except flat denial and hope for the best.
I agree 1000%. I think mentally he's in denial, but his body language tells me he's just kind of submitted to the fact that he's busted.
Almost, I'm going to be defiant, but I've got no resistance type of thing.
Well, yeah, I mean, just for a natural or a normal person's reaction to being accused of murder, there would be some type of emotional response. The guy didn't budge. He didn't flinch. His head didn't move. He didn't throw his hands up in the air. I mean, yeah, he's done, in my opinion. I agree with Lucian.
Yeah, and he walked out of the last interview probably thinking that, they didn't have anything. If they had something, they would have already pulled it on him. So he's given up.
Maybe. Do you see this guy moving towards a confession and giving it up?
No, I think if I had to guess at this point, he's either going to keep repeating the denials or he'll just stop talking altogether.
Lamar, if you were sitting quarterback on this, where would you be leaning towards? Which way?
I would try to honor him up as the tactic goes. Like, hey, I'm here to help you, or play the loyalty game. This doesn't have to be as bad for you as it could be. If this goes in court, you've got a lot of evidence stacked up against you. Help me help you. That's what I would lean into. See if it would kind of break him out of that, just being an obstructionist.
I'm leaning back with Lucian on this. I haven't seen any indication that he's going to drop the stone wall, and I think he's going to ride his story like a bike until the wheels fall off. Is the way I see it right now. But let's see where it goes.
My bed and hold it for me. Well, that's kind of a bullshit story. We kind of knew that from the get-go, didn't we? Okay? The situation is, I don't know what brought on the thing. I mean, I realize you were arguing with her that day over money or some crap. That's the information I have. But I don't think that's enough to kill somebody. If you were with her that day, this would be the time to explain how your DNA's on her.
I was not with her that day.
Okay. You're not with her that day? You ain't drove her car and you didn't touch the cords, right?
Exactly.
Okay. Talk to me. How are you? Do you own some of her clothing? I mean, have you been over to her house and done her laundry or something? I mean, there's got, it don't just magically appear. And Larry's isn't there. That's what hurts even more. I mean, if her wallet ended up under my bed and Larry's DNA was all over this shit, well, then I probably isn't here talking to Larry right now. But that ain't the case. Okay?
All right.
Now, I don't know if she attacked you, if she was pissed off at you because you owed her money. I don't know if she threatened you or what happened. But I do know she's dead, she's tied up, you're on her car, you're on the straps around her hands, and you got DNA all over her clothing. I don't understand how that happened. This would be, hey, if something mitigating here, this is when we talk about it, This is not that time, I'm going to deny. I need to know. It didn't just magically appear. And I think I've been honest with you every time we've been in here. And I've explained things as I went, what was going on. Went and told you, hey, I'm going to go talk to this person. I'm going to talk to this person. I'm going to tell you. And I came back with you each time. This isn't a mystery thing. I don't sit in here and come in here and try and tell you, hey, I got this big folder of bullshit. No, this is real stuff. I come in here and I've been straight up with you each time. Here's what I learned. Can you explain this? Now, you've backpedaled in the past. Well, I showed you the phone records. You said, well, I don't remember all those phone calls. Okay? Well, maybe you don't. But we got a situation here where this isn't a memory thing. You're there. That ain't the question. The question is, why are you there? Now, if you got an explanation for that, I'm willing to hear it. Then that's what I'm here to do. I'm willing to hear your explanation. Okay? Sit there and shake your head all you want, but it's there.
What do I need to do to sign this?
That's just saying that you understand your rights. You don't have to talk to me.
Okay.
And if you don't want to talk to me, that's fine. That's just saying you understand that I explained that to you. Okay?
Let's see.
You have the right to make something. Everything I just read to you right there. And I'll witness it. There got to be an explanation, dude.
I mean,
the only explanation I know of is that you killed her.
Have
Now, talk to me. Tell me.
I been hiding? Have I?
No, you haven't been hiding. You've been in the jail. I mean, you know.
I mean, before that, I mean, was I?
No.
Was I trying
But maybe
to be
you
deceitful?
thought well, I didn't think you were being totally honest with me because, you know, I kept catching little lies.
Yeah.
But we're beyond that now.
All right.
You know? So if there's some reason why you're supposed to, you know, your DNA is going to be on there, if there's some reason you forgot, this is the time to damn sure remember. This is serious business right here, right now. Okay?
No, I mean,
No.
my DNA is not in that car.
Okay.
And it is not on her.
It is.
It's not in the steering
And
wheel.
that's what I'm telling you, it is. Now, you may be smart enough to wear gloves so the fingerprints aren't there, but apparently you took them off or you sweated down on them. That's the only explanation I have for it, because I don't have your fingerprints there. I think you were very careful. I think you did a very good job wearing gloves the entire time you're taping her. I just want to know why. You know, she obviously y'all got a little bit of issue, according to, you know, your friend Miss Fowler. You're cussing and yelling up a storm, mad at her that day. I don't see the reason.
Did you ever
for it.
ask her sister Pam that was in the car that same question?
No.
Because
I understand you were dating Pam, huh?
No.
Went out with her or something?
No, never.
That was interest I had. I talked to Fowler, who says she's in there, and she's telling me she knows Cheryl, knows her voice. You know?
I told her it was Cheryl. I mean, I wasn't arguing.
Okay, so you're talking with her on the phone, but she's saying you're cussing up a storm and angry, and it's all over money. Now, you told me you paid Cheryl back on Friday, as I recall, right? Okay, so you paid her this money, right? This conversation is supposed to happen on Monday. I guess during all that series of phone calls that you have that afternoon with her. Because you're talking to Cheryl, I think, like 6 times that evening. The last person you talked to on your cell phone, because I've only got your cell phone records, is her. You talked to your last 3 phone calls are all her. Okay? So, you know, you're telling me that you're calling to try and get her some drugs. You have 3 phone calls with her, but I don't see where you're trying to call the drug dealer for her. I met the drug dealer. I actually got a hold of him, talked to him.
Yeah.
You know, I had to go get the folder, get his name. You know, you described the gold color thing, the car. He's got an aunt. He didn't want to tell me his first name, but I ended up getting a hold of him, talking to him and his aunt. He said he was nervous talking to you because he had heard about some murder. I guess he knows Larry Spears too, and y'all met this drug dealer through Larry's.
Well,
he said
he
recorded you when you came over. I got a recording of the recording. I got a recording of where he recorded. You remember him recording you?
On his cell phone?
Yeah. He recorded it off his cell phone. I recorded that. I may still have it. Well, anyway, you just go over. Oh yeah, the cops are talking to me about this. But yeah, I talked to him, find out what was going on that day. I've talked to everybody, dude.
All right.
And, you know, you're arguing with her over money. Do I think that's enough to kill somebody? No. But obviously you got anger problems because we know about the other incident, right? What you're in here for. Okay? So, were you that angry?
No. I'm not that angry of a person.
Okay, you're not. Well, you had an issue with that one incident, I guess. And maybe that was unique. Okay? But she's saying that you're yelling and cussing, calling her the bitch and all this other stuff.
That is
screaming
the most
and hollering.
bullshit.
Okay. I mean, I don't know. I'm just talking to the witnesses. Okay? So, you got that. Her wallet appears there in your house. Now, you know, let me tell you, if Larry's DNA was in there, I'm all about everybody and his brother was saying, Larry did this. That's why I came to you that first time I talked to you. Said, hey, I want to find your roommate. I need to talk to Larry. Remember that day? Okay?
While he's trying to remember what he actually said that day, I want to go to Jason with 3D Response Systems. His comment, he says, this conversation with a good defense attorney would probably get tossed. I'm going to push back on that. This is a guy that's in custody. We've got him on videotape where he read and signed that he understood his rights in a prior interview. He was read his rights on camera this time, and he said, I'm just not going to sign anything, and then continued to talk. He was advised of his warnings, and I believe there's a Supreme Court case goes back to about between 2007, maybe 2010, that said that since most people have seen rights read to suspects on television, it's kind of in the zeitgeist of America that it's hard to find somebody who doesn't know what their constitutional rights are. But I think this one's going to be good, Jason. Another thing for you guys in studio is that you noticing that the interrogator, the investigator in this case, his foot's on the gas. He's not letting off. He's throwing blows as fast as he can get them out of his mouth and countering what this guy's saying. What do you think about that tactic? I'm going to go to Lucian first on this one, but what do you think about that tactic?
Well, there's a lot of pressure there. I think he's hoping to find some kind of fracture that will open up. It's not something I would have done in this case. As the guy sitting there intractable, he can't leave. I would have given him some oddly specific time. I'm gonna be back in 19 minutes. I'm gonna go get a smoke or whatever else, and I know how long it takes me to do this, this, and this. Give him some framework, and then come back and say, when I get back, I want to hear what you have to say, and I will sit here and wait, and we'll just sit. The pressure tactic is interesting to me because in my experience, the things that I do, that immediately drives people away and it causes problems. So it's not something I tend to push on. I think it's interesting here. And like I said, I think he's trying to develop a fissure that he wants to open up.
Okay. Lamar, what do you think?
I think it's been interesting, but in this instance, I think he's talking too much. I agree with Lucian. I think given the subject some time to bake or stew in some silence can help, but he's got to give the subject an opportunity to talk, because if he just keeps rambling on, I don't think he's going to get what he's looking for.
Have you guys seen this similar tactic in other interrogations that we've reviewed?
Yeah, it's not uncommon. I just think this one's persisting a little bit further, and especially with the subject not responding, already shut down. I don't know how successful it's going to be. In others, if you see the agitation increasing over time, yeah, keep pushing on that. But this guy's giving no sign, not that I can see.
I think Jason and I kind of refer to it as the point in the interrogation where you just step on the gas and you drive it till they confess or call for an attorney, but you just keep shooting it at them. I think that's the point of the interview or this interrogation that we're in. And I'll wait to the end because I've got an opinion on this type of tactic. It's not necessarily a bad thing even if you don't get the confession. But I don't know that this interrogator is expecting this guy to just roll over and give it all up at this point. But he is rapid firing him, and I think he's going to push the pedal to the metal until this guy screams for an attorney or gives it up. I mean, that's still a possibility. I'm not seeing it.
I'm hot and heavy. Go and try and talk to him, because everybody and his brother saying, hey, Larry had some girl die over his house, and Larry's a bad person. He was with her. He's probably jealous she's got a new boyfriend. I'm all about that, right? I go there, find out. Phone records show him up in Alabama. I can actually see him because he's making phone calls as he's going up to Alabama. DNA, none of it comes back on him. Who she's talking to is you. Where her wallet where we find her wallet, it's in your house. Did she leave her wallet in your house today she came over to pay you? Maybe that's it. She leave the wallet over there today she come and pay you? She'll here, give me the money you want, and here's my wallet too. That wallet. Your explanation is you find it in Larry's stuff. Did we walk through that house that day? I didn't see it sitting around. I didn't see it sitting around there. Did you? All of a sudden it appears and it's under your bed. I think that, if I was going to go back and look at this and say, hey, what did he screw up on? That wallet would ring big time. I think the wallet you screwed up on. I think you did a damn good job with fingerprints. You must have gloved up, and it's hard with electrical tape. With that big, thick black tape, it's hard to tape stuff up with gloves on. Hey, there wasn't a fingerprint on it. I think you had to wipe the car, too, because there wasn't any fingerprints on the car, but the touch DNA was there. That's what got you. That's what bit you in the butt. That and the wallet were the two things, I think, where you failed. You did a pretty good job other than that. And this isn't, this ain't no bullshit. Maybe there was some situation I don't know about there that day, because I don't know exactly what occurred. I don't even know exactly where this took place at. I just know the end result is a woman dead, okay? Her family wants answers. I certainly would like to have the answers. I'm curious as a cat. That's why I do this job, because I want to know. My whole job is to find out the truth. That's why we check all the facts, okay? But the DNA report's coming back with you on the steering wheel, you on the electrical cord, you on the clothing, okay? The wallet's in your house. It's in your house at a time when Larry Spears is confirmed out of town, okay? So your story is that you find it in Larry Spears? I don't know, man. It don't make sense. The only thing that makes sense is it's you. We took all these facts and presented them to a judge, and he felt the same way, okay? That's why the judge signed it. So, if you want to sit here and deny, I'm telling you, you're going to go down with the cold-blooded killer who did it. If there's something that went wrong, if there's something that happened, this is the time to tell me. This is the time to tell me, hey, she was pissed off, I owed her money, fucking pulled the gun on me, I did take care of myself. I don't know. I don't know what happened. But this is the time to tell me, okay? Because we keep jacking around like this, and then all of a sudden you want to go to the day of the court and say, yeah, a year and a half ago when I got arrested for this, I didn't want to tell the policeman, but, we got in an argument, it was an accident. I don't want to hear all that bullshit. I don't want to hear all that whining and crying stuff later. I want to know about it now. So, if you got an explanation for all these facts coming back to you, I am all about hearing it. All about it. Okay?
Got nothing.
Got nothing. Okay. I got nothing. Judge don't sign for nothing, dude. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You don't sign. I don't get a warrant signed off nothing. So, that's your explanation. That's your explanation. But,
that's it.
Damn. There's no reason you can tell me why your DNA would be there. No reason you can tell me why the wallet would end up under your bed. That actually makes sense. Where'd the wallet come from, dude? Where'd the wallet come from? What were y'all talking about on the phone all night? You couldn't have been talking about. You do have the right to remain silent. You don't have to talk to me at all, and I told you that in the rights. If you don't want to talk to me, don't talk to me. But I got questions, and the family's got questions, and everybody wants answers. Okay? If you can tell me what y'all were talking about, it can't be a drug dealer. It can't be over drugs because you didn't call nobody else to try and get her no drugs. The last 3 phone calls are with her. You don't call anybody else. So if you're trying to get her drugs, who you calling? Nobody. You just go to bed, I guess, right?
I told you.
She don't come by.
No.
Nobody's over there. Nobody's with you all night. You don't drive her car. How's your DNA on the damn steering wheel, dude?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know either. Look, I don't go out to try and focus in on it. You came out of left space. I tell you, the first time I saw you, I could tell you were nervous, but I didn't know why. I was trying to get to Larry Spears, was I not?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that was my goal. That's where I was headed to. I wanted to go to Alabama and talk to Larry Spears. You put me on the phone with him. I was all about that.
Mm-hmm.
But the more I checked on Larry, the more I checked on Tommy Cody, they don't match up. Everything's coming back to you.
Obviously.
So, why? Other than you did it, why? Somebody walking around collecting your skin? Trying to put DNA on you?
Must be.
Well, they should have collected your fingerprints. That would have been easier, huh?
You're the only one that got my DNA.
Okay. Me, FDLE, I don't collect that. The crime scene does, but yeah. You gave it to the courts, you gave it to me, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's about it. Nobody else collected any. But it's on her steering wheel. And that wallet, man, talk to me about this wallet, man. I mean, you had an excuse that day. Tell me again where you found it.
I need to use the bathroom whenever we get a chance.
You can use the bathroom. You want to go right now? I'll let you go right now. Sure. Yeah. Okay, so what were we talking about? You find the wallet where? Where do you find that wallet again?
I'm waiting for my day in court, like you said, man.
Okay. You don't want to talk to me? I'll get up and go. If you don't want to talk to me, that's fine. I just want to remind you, this is the last time you are going to get a chance to talk to me before court. Last time you'll get a chance to get your signed versions out before we go. Okay?
Yes, sir.
All right. As long as you're good with that. Don't want to answer any of those questions for that family.
We'll find out. We'll have my day in court, like
Okay.
you said.
That's right, we did.
That's-
Come on.
Okay, before we get to the summation of this, I believe every good investigator, every good interrogator, especially in a murder or homicide case, however you want to say that, when they sit down on these interviews, they have a tactic they're going to go. We've seen them in prior interrogation shows where they'll coax it out slowly over hours to try to build this rapport. Typically, a lot of times the evidence is the base of that. If I need something from this person to tie up points of evidence that I have, but I don't know how they're connected, then I'm going to try to be more artful because I need something from them. This case, I don't believe this investigator needed anything else from it. The DNA's everything he's got so far is pretty tight. But I will say there is a good tactical advantage for bringing someone in and setting them down and seeing how they react and what they say when you accuse them of all these things, where they don't really have an answer for it. This can be played in court. The investigator can sit on the witness stand and talk about this interrogation. It goes through cross-examination. The defense can get up and interrogate the interrogator about what happened in this interrogation. But you have a right not to testify against yourself. But when you do an interrogation video like this, you're going to testify. It's just maybe not the testimony that you want that the jury's going to hear. But this is another way the state can get your word into court when you have a right not to testify against yourself. And I think that's the tactic in the second interview. He didn't care whether he got an interview or not. I think he got in there and stepped on the gas. I'm going to go as long as this guy's going to listen to me. And I'm just going to keep making accusations and pointing out inconsistencies. And I'm going to rapid fire them because it's not about him. It's about the video. And that's kind of my point on a tactic that I think is being used. When I said earlier, I think he's stepping on the gas. And I think that's the tactic that was employed here for the prosecution. But Lamar, you want to say anything before we find out how this goes, how it finally ends?
Yeah, I mean, I think I appreciate you explaining that because I didn't see that. I'm obviously Monday morning quarterbacking here, but I think one of the key things that we always kept in mind if you're sitting in front of a subject is understanding their demeanor and reaction to the line of questioning. And once it was apparent he was completely closing off, that would have been a signal to me to shift my tactic. Try to provide an opening, let the subject talk, because just me watching this, I think the subject was in a position where he was essentially just being talked to, not being given an opportunity to have a conversation. But that's just my view on it.
I think that was very accurate. But I think that was the tactic. Lucian?
Yeah, I'm thinking about that. I kind of projecting myself into the situation as the interrogator. It felt really like he had all the evidence he needed, and what he was really looking for was motive. Why is the question that came up? Why did you have the wallet? What purpose does it serve? And I don't know how this goes off in the legal world, but the emphasis there really was trying to get out state of mind, because we know the facts of the case. There were 2 bags over the girl's head, tied with RCA cables. There's some malice there, and that goes beyond anything that you could explain as an accident. And so the wallet, to my mind, was something either having to do with a personal history they have, or this guy is right on the edge of becoming a serial killer. Who knows? by keeping a souvenir of some kind.
Okay, I can see that. I think from a law enforcement point of view, why or your motive is not necessarily an element of an offense that the state's going to have to prove for conviction. I think the DNA, his inconsistent stories, the wallet, I think you add everything up that the police have. I think they've got enough to go to trial with it. What you add by adding this type of interrogation video to that case file going forward is you essentially get the defendant, in his own words, quite frankly, looking guilty on video that you're going to be able to play in court. I don't think there was any other reason to bring this guy in other than to, one, serve the arrest warrant and to get this memorialized in an interrogation room.
Yeah, the attitude there is clearly, I'm going to hammer you as hard as I can, and either you'll break and tell me why, or everyone's going to see that you completely shut down and you don't care. And so we're going to paint an even more malicious picture of your personality.
But it's not going to be positive. If you sit and watch this like we're watching it in a trial, it's not going to give a positive light to the claim. Is the hinge pin that's going to sway the jury beyond a reasonable doubt? I'm not saying that. I'm saying that this is very good for the prosecution. If you, as an interrogator, an investigator in a homicide, that you could provide these type of interrogation tapes. When you can't provide them is when the guy says, no, I want an attorney and I don't want to speak to you. And you never get to this point of sitting in a room going on for 20 minutes about, I think you're a liar. But I tell you what, let's finish this one out. And we're about done for the night, it looks like.
Scott's day in court that he was so anxiously waiting for didn't exactly work in his favor. He was ultimately convicted of second-degree murder for the violent death of Cheryl Cain and sentenced to life in prison. However, that only amounted to around 13 years behind bars. On April 27, 2023, while incarcerated at Blackwater Correctional Facility, Scott passed away. The cause of his death hasn't been publicly released. Oddly enough, however, his father passed away the exact same day. Their memorials were held on the same day, at the same venue, only hours apart. Sadly, that funeral home was also the place where Cheryl Cain's funeral was held on March 30th, 2009.
All right, folks, that's the case. We didn't get a confession. I think there was a strategic, I think there still was some strategy employed by the interrogator on this. I'm gonna give him an A, maybe not an A+, but I'm gonna give him an A. I think the interrogator did a good job. Lamar, do you have a score?
Yeah, I do. I give him a solid B+. My only real knockdown from an A is that last session where, I mean, he came into the room armed with everything he needed for the law enforcement side to get this guy slammed. If he was looking for the guy to open up and get a confession, I just think he should have seen some signs there that the subject was just unresponsive, wasn't going to open up, and the peppering of questions wasn't really going to help him. But if it serves that ultimate law enforcement desired end state, I get it. But that's the only knock from an A for me.
B+, you're tough. Lucian.
I don't give grades like that. I think he did a good job. Again, because I'd compare the different outcomes that my profession wants. But I thought it was interesting that effectively the officer went in there and, I mean, he could have just started off saying, you know what, we got you. I want you just to make the prosecutor's job easy. Screw you. Tell me why you did it and just confess. Come on. Because that's really the path that he was on at that point when the guy was clearly intractable.
No, I think that was the goal of that second interview. I think he and his supervisors, whoever else he's working with, I think they formulated that plan that we'll bring him in. He's in custody. We can do it whenever we want, and let him know that he's under arrest, and just let him know that we got him, and confront him with all this stuff. See what he says. But his reaction, even if he says nothing, I guess is my point. His reaction to this and the little bit of conversation that he did provide is prosecution gold. Really, at the end of the day, you should listen to these attorneys. I'm not an attorney, but I'm not about to sit down under a camera and listen and let somebody record a police officer accuse me of all these things in a room. You can do that, do it in a courtroom. But folks, I've neglected our folks over at Range Minded Podcast. I've got a promo to run for those. Those of you who don't follow Range Minded on X, you should. He's also got a podcast that's available on any streaming service. I watch it on Spotify. But he puts out a weekly 2A, Pro 2A podcast. He talks a lot about some of the legal laws. There's a lot going on right now in the legal realm of the Second Amendment right. But he also does very practical things in sports shooting and information about firearms. So if you're a 2A guy, Range Minded Podcast, by the way, it is free to follow him and subscribe to him on YouTube and all the other places that he has his podcast. It does a ton of good for him. I suggest you do so and follow him. It's a good show.
Have you ever wondered to yourself, man, what time does the store close? Or where's the best cheeseburger near me? Well, I'm not going to answer those questions. That's what your damn phone is for. Use that. Instead, if you have stuff related, to the 2A world, I'm your man. My name's Steve. I run the Range Minded Podcast. On the podcast, we talk about all things Second Amendment, whether it be new guns or gear. Maybe we talk about some training. We'll dig into Washington and the shenanigans they get up to. Sometimes we talk about the Supreme Court and the crap that they're doing. It's always a good time, a little smorgasbord of the 2A, if you don't mind me using that narrative. Either way, you can find us whether on YouTube or Rumble, Range Minded Podcast. I'm also on all sorts of streaming services wherever you listen to your podcast. Range Minded Podcast. You can jump on the website, rangemindedpodcast.com. Maybe stop by, buy a patch and some other things. There you can link to the social medias and all that other stuff. Hope to see you there. It's always a good time. Anyways, you guys have fun, stay safe, and always stay range-minded. See you guys soon.
Range Minded Podcast, folks, anywhere you can find a podcast, type it in, Range Minded Podcast. Give him a follow, watch his videos. I promise you'll be entertained. I catch them at least once a week. And for our regular viewers, you'll notice that our friend Jason was not with us tonight. He did retire last week, and now he's full-time at 3D Response, and they've had him working this evening. But we don't want to neglect that. For safe schools to change the tide in the way we look at some maniac that wants to show up at our schools and kill our most precious commodity, our children, a thing we value the most, but yet we protect the least. It's 3D Response. Watch this video. Go to 3D Response's website. To get this into schools, folks, it's going to be a grassroots effort. It's going to be moms and dads and people like watching this show here tonight. You have to reach out to your school board. You have to reach out to your state representatives. You need to demand that this becomes a code, a building code, like we did with our fire code. We haven't lost a child in the school since 1959 when they made the fire code mandatory. We did lose children in fire prior to that. 1959 was the worst. So we don't need the worst school shooting to go on. We've already had enough of those bad ones. It's going to take a grassroots effort. Your politicians won't pay attention to it, but we need to do it as parents. But go to the 3D Response website and get more information past what this video is going to get you. Watch this. That's it, folks. It's simply 3dresponse.com. He's got a great website. This is a comprehensive system. I can't show it to you in 30 seconds. It's probably going to take about 10 minutes of your time, but it's worth it. And your noise is going to be worth it as well. If this is in every one of our school tragedies like Uvalde, no children dead with 3D Response. Covenant, no children dead in 3D Response. Parkland could have had maybe 3 to 5. but you didn't have the mass shooting. It'll end mass shootings in schools because it gives a chance a child to survive somebody in the school with bullets. All right, folks. Lamar, Lucian, I want to thank you guys for coming in tonight and spending the evening with us and giving us your insight. It's always great to have you guys. Anything you guys want to say before we go?
I would just say real quick, thanks again for having me, Joe. It's always a pleasure. You always pick some really interesting situations to review, and I look forward to the next time. Good sir, thank you.
You're very welcome. Go ahead, Lucian.
I'll say the same thing. I appreciate the opportunity to come out here and kind of share our different perspectives. I always learn something, from everybody else who's participating and some of the other guests that you've had on. That this is really good stuff. I appreciate it.
Guys, heartfelt thank you. For those you don't know, they volunteer their time to come in and do this and spend the evening with us, and we do appreciate you guys. We'll have an after party on X. Give us about 20 minutes. We'll kick one up. Come on in. We can keep talking about the interrogation, or we can bring up something else. But we'll have an after party on X there for a little bit. Catch us on Friday, our grand jury show. We've got 5 brand new volunteers for this week. I've got some great videos. I even pulled one back from the past that should make everybody ponder at least on the decision. But we've got a great show lined up on Friday. That's 9 o'clock Eastern time. Y'all catch us there, and we'll see you in a bit at the after party.
Did you ever get any money from Costello?
No.
And did you ever get any money from Meyer Lansky?
I never got money from any of those fellas.
None of those
None
fellas?
of those fellas. None of these that I've been reading about, and none that I knew. They never gave me anything.
None of the Shetties?
No.
You
I
think-
don't even speak to the... I mean, I met that Charlie once or twice. I don't even talk to him.
You don't like him?
I was conscious of the fact that he had a reputation for being an outstanding bookmaker.
You ever hear him referred to as the Prime Minister of the Underworld?
That term I did not.
You're also known as Duck Corella. I refuse to answer on the grounds of an attempt. You got any business? I refuse to answer on the grounds of attempt to criminal. You have any profession? I refuse to answer on the grounds of made. Have any occupation? I refuse to answer on the grounds of made. Are you a known racketeer?